My name is Kate Grissom. It's Kategrissom. I'm the Director of Marketing and Community Development for Rolling Hills Casino. I also sit on a number of boards within the county. That's sort of my association at this conference here.
So including workforce boards, for example?
You know, I'm not directly on a workforce board. I'm on the economic development, so that's obviously very much connected, and also on tourism, Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Great.
So I do a lot of work with.
So very good perspective, and I'm glad you came to talk to us, because what we're looking at is, as I think Kristen mentioned to you, is we're looking at the relationship of leadership and the workforce development system. And we've talked to a lot of folks who are coming at this from the public sector, and you're coming at it from the private sector. So I'm just curious what your perception is of the need for leadership in workforce development.
I think the need for leadership in workforce development is changing. I'm not exactly sure what that actual need is, but I know the dynamics of leadership are really changing. They're all over the place. Before, there was this really executive leadership and you had your management, your supervisors, and that's really changing as we reach out and look at the different ways of marketing our businesses, whether it's through customer service or some of the social networking. We're really looking at champions more so than just leaders. We're looking at people who are going to promote our business and be the champions of our morals or our values or our missions. So I like to preach from a leadership perspective that everyone's really a leader if they choose to. I mean, there are definitely people out there that don't choose that path. From a workforce development, it's really about those skills, those soft skills. You know, how do we teach people to be kind? How do we teach people to make decisions based off of their instincts, off of the right thing to do? It's really some of those skills that I think will really lead, or I guess it's putting the heart in the business. It's putting the heart back into the business, and if you have the leaders that have the teams that can do that, those are the businesses that are going to succeed.
So in the boards that you serve, what would you like to see done differently from where it is now, so that it embodies more that style of leadership, the style of leadership that you see in the private sector you're moving towards, and maybe government is still behind on this?
I think when we look at boards specifically, there's a lot of what's always been done that goes on. We always, read the minutes, approve the minutes. It's always sort of the, in with the new, out with the old, but it's still those same values. If we could teach boardsmanship to be a place where you were creative and where it was a safe place to think out loud, knowing that just by saying your thoughts, you're not necessarily making a decision, and it might not even necessarily be your opinion. All too often people are afraid to speak because we're around this table and there's this sort of level of formality there, and change doesn't really occur. A really good example, we're working right now in Tehama County with the Job Training Center, which is the workforce development in the casino, and actually the McConnell Foundation, and a couple of other private businesses all come together, and we're really being the champions of higher expectations through higher education. We believe that we can increase the economic vitality of our community by speaking hope into people's lives, giving them a chance to dream, giving them a chance or giving them the opportunity or permission to think about what their future is. And really what we're doing is going back to that heart, going back to, I inherently know this is what I want to do. This was a dream that was instilled in my mind when I was a child, but somewhere along the line, the reality of life kind of hit, whether that was poor socioeconomics, lack of education. So what's really unique about this movement is we're trying to get all of these different people together to really champion this higher expectations. But that all started with a group of people getting together and having a cup of coffee and saying, what if? What can we do? Oh, well, I know this person and I know this person. Let's get this person together. And hey, let's have a summit. Let's get a bunch of people in the room together and some stakeholders and really figure out how we can make this a reality. And it just takes people, I think, being confident, taking the risk, and those are the sorts of skills that I think need to be developed. So did I come full circle on that question?
It's beautiful. So how do you then move from kind of the vision stage to the implementation stage? How do you make that leap?
That's the challenging part, for sure. But when you go to that, from that vision, you have to have back to that network, those people that are going to make that commitment. And I don't think the commitment can be overwhelming. It has to be just that one thing that one person can do. A lot of little change will affect great change. And so for me, when I look back to that example of higher education, it's about identifying the entire community. It can't be education. It is not education's sole responsibility to educate our kids or our youth. It's our community's responsibility. It's our businesses, it's our government, it's our service clubs, our grandparents, our parents, our brothers, our sisters, all of those different people. So I think it's about finding leaders, so finding a leader for the service clubs and saying, you know what, I'm going to take on this role and I'm going to have my Kiwanis Club or my Rotary Club. We're going to mentor some college students, or we're going to do this one thing. And if you can get the entire community to just do one thing and commit to that, and somehow having that built-in accountability, whether for us we're going to have them sign a compact. We're going to basically say, as a community, this is our compact, and this is the one thing I'm going to commit to doing. And we look at that. Our goal is to have 1,000 signatures, which means 1,000 commitments in the first 6 months. And we're coming up on our 6 months in December, and we'll get there. We'll probably exceed that 1,000. But I mean, if you think about it, I mean, one of the commitments that a mother made was, I will read a book to my child every night before I go to bed. That's tremendous. One teacher said, in my 4th grade class, we're going to adopt a college student. We're going to be pen pals with them. We're going to save our pennies and buy them Starbucks cards. That's one thing. Our city manager is going to formally adopt November Education Week, write a proclamation. The newspaper is going to really promote that. So that's 2 things, but those are kind of on the larger scale. Businesses that are one of our business improvement districts has committed to purchasing and putting up the plaques of our logo. Because we're also looking at this as if we can brand this movement, this is kind of going back to that leadership, then we're also sort of instilling a sense of pride or ownership within our community. So it's going back to developing those skills.
And when you say we, who's the we in this?
The we in this is that we have a leadership group. It's actually our county superintendent of schools, Larry Champion, myself representing kind of the private, and Kathy Garcia from the Job Training Center. And we committed to raising the funds to bringing in College Options, which is a nonprofit organization that comes in and actually teaches our high school students to give them pathways to college, so the A through G requirements, getting their applications filled out. And that was $125,000 that we had to raise to bring them in. So that was our commitment. I'm trying to think of some of the other commitments, some pretty significant commitments. And again, they're signing, they're putting their name, and they're putting their one commitment. So
Is your compact, is that something you can share?
Yeah, our compact will be online. Our website's being developed right now.
Let me give you a business card. Because what we're working on is, examples of leadership at any level, in any direction. And this exemplifies just exactly a non-traditional style of doing community change, rather than the board,
exactly.
going through the years and years it might take to plan this out. More of a networked approach.
Yeah, it is. This is definitely the network approach, and I think that's another skill that probably one of the most life-changing classes I took was around networking. It was a marketing communications class, and it was all around networking. And this will make you laugh, because the class I took was in 8th grade.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to go out and collect all of these, my friends' parents who were lawyers and doctors, and make this binder. And we were to write a letter back to our teacher when we actually used that. I used that the year I graduated from high school, and it got me my first job, which has essentially kind of laid the groundwork for my career. And that was my 8th grade teacher teaching me about networking. And so again, that's a skill that I think is all too often, especially in the private world. Oh yeah, you're going to go play golf, you're going to go to Kiwanis, you're going to go do these things. Right, you just don't want to be at work.
Right.
There's such power in that networking, such power.